Good morning, members of council, our municipal manager, all directors present, our administrative support staff, the legal representative, Mr. Prince, the executive mayor, deputy mayor, and members of public who are joining this council meeting. Very good morning to you all. I'm going to ask Councillor Untitled to kindly just open this meeting with a word of prayer. Thank you.
Speaker, bow our heads. Dankie Hemelse Vader vir die groot oggend, mooi natuurskoon, mooi dorp waar ons in beweeg, Here. Dat ons so uit die hand uit mag vang. Ons draai die dag, ons draai die raadsvergadering op aan U. Ons raak ieder en elk op aan U vanoggend wat siek is, Here, en lekker voel nie. Draai die genesende hand oor ieder en elk. Here, dankie sê vir U wysheid, Here. Ja. Dit kom net ons hand uit. Afhanklikheid is van U, Here. Maar U hand in alles, Here. Dankie ook vir ons vanoggend sê aan U dat ons mooi dorp en ons inwoners seën, Here, dat ons 'n begroting volgende kan goedkeur, Here. Kom alles uit U hand uit, Here, en ons sal dit nie vergeet nie. Dankie daarvoor dat U ons mooi elkeen beskerm, Here. Dankie vir elke raadslid, administrasie, burgemeester, speaker, elke leier van die dorp wat U is, Here. Organisasie, almal wat teenwoordig is, bydra wat hulle baie sukses te maak. Maar vanoggend sê ons net dankie vir U. Sonder U is niks moontlik. Hemelse Vader, ons vanoggend na U toe kan kom en net stil raak. Ons eer U, namens en volk. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councillor Delamain. Our attendance register is circulating. I kindly request that all councillors please sign the attendance register. And then at Roman 3, our applications for leave of absence. This morning we have 3 councillors who have submitted their apologies. It is Councillor Leroux, Councillor Van Dijk, and Councillor Kamfer, and who has this morning indicated that he is not feeling very well. So just for the record, we have received those 3 apologies for leave of absence. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Councillor Dalbo has also indicated that he is running a bit late. He makes apologies.
Thank you very much. That is noted. We are then at Roman 4 of our agenda, which is the disclosure of interest in terms of Schedule 1, Code of Conduct for Councillors, in terms of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act. Is there any councillor who wishes to disclose interest at this point? None, thank you so much. At Roman 5, we have our disclosure of benefits in terms of Schedule 2, Section 5, Code of Conduct for Officials of Local Government. Is there any official who need to disclose at this point?
Speaker, there's an item concerning Mr. Jantjies.
Thank you very much. And then Director Jantjies will then, at that item, excuse himself. Thank you so much, Director Jantjies. We are then at item 6, our agenda for this morning. Item E123, the 2022/2027 5th Generation Integrated Development Plan and 2022/2023 MTREF budget, objections, comments, and recommendations and adjustment to documentation. We have our recommendation. Can I please ask for a proposal in this regard? Thank you, Executive Mayor. Do we have a seconder for the Executive Mayor?
Madam Speaker, I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Furness. Is there any questions of clarity or comments on this item? Councillor Buddha, I acknowledge you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we focus on this item. All what I want here today, the number of items. I'm a person who have what we call the currency. So now my blood is a little bit up. When I read this thing, my blood is up. Now I want just the director must just take us through in this item, so that after we take us through so what we can do.
Thank you very much, Councillor Buddha. Is there any other councillor who wishes to ask any questions at this point? I see no indication. The councillor is then requesting that the Director of Finance brief council on the item and then also give clarity with reference to why it is serving. CFO, over to you.
Speaker, in response to the councillor, this is part of the legislative process of the approval of the budget for the 22-23 financial year. They're starting on the 1st of July. The budget needs to be approved at least 30 days before the start of the financial year. What we're taking here at the moment, at the end of March, 31st of March, we tabled the draft budget, after which we then followed a public participation process and the rolling out of the IDP, which then took place in the month of April, getting inputs and considerations from both internal staff, external stakeholders, our public, after which we then consolidated all that information during the month of May. And then, after consideration, made adjustments to our financial or our budget for the 22-23 financial year. So what was circulated was the summary of changes from inputs received in the month of April, which we then incorporated as part of our 22-23 final budget between the councils. Some of the changes, or a summary of the change, is when we started with the draft budget had been put to council. There was a operational deficit of, I can say, 87 million. That has been obviously been reduced with regards to some cutting from both administration and under the guidance of council and the inputs that we received. And that's part of the summary that was circulated. So you need to look at the original budget plus the changes that were circulated now to get to the final budget. In addition to us following the participation process during the month of April, our budget was also submitted to Provincial Treasury, where they also performed an analysis of our financial budget, what we budgeted for, our financial situation, sustainability, and then they gave the inputs as well, which also circulated and incorporated as part of this process, and tabled to council as well. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, CFO. Councillor Buddha, does that provide you with some clarity?
Speaker, we go through to the table of this budget. Speaker, there's a huge difference here. If you see our words here, you can see. Let us go straight to my words. When you see what 12 here, you see nothing there. When you see other word 1 or 2 or 3, you are going to see 53 million, which is the greater Mossel. When you see other words, 10, 5, 7, etc., you see the money there. What's happening? Because I don't want anyone to take us like a joke here. When we're there, we say, all of us, we go to the magistrate, then we swear we're going just to deliver to our community, any community. So we don't want a stew budget here now. What's happening in this thing? I want to clarity. Why this budget is so stew? When you see other area, we've been true to the IDPs, and then people, they raise issue there. When you see other words like your Dynaba, your town, you see your Hattie, and so on, lot of money. When you see our word, no money, go straight to your slide, go to what 12, and then see what's happening there. What is the issue there? I want just an explanation. You can't take us a question.
Thank you, Councillor Buddha, for that follow-up. So Councillor Buddha is requesting. Yes, I'll allow for you to respond. Councillor Buddha is just seeking a bit more clarity in terms of the explanation as to why nothing is reflecting with reference to all the wards. So perhaps just an indication.
Speaker, I think if you look at the item that's on the table now, this is just a report to council to say we went out on public participation and we received some inputs from the community, which was considered and is as per Annexure A now. I think Councillor Buddha's question should come later on with the approval of the budget, Speaker, not under this item, just for order's sake and so on, if you understand, Councillor Buddha. This item is just to tell the council that we went out on public participation after the mayor tabled the budget in March, and we received some input from the broader community. That's all this item seeks to address, Speaker. I think that the question that Councillor Buddha wants to ask comes under E128 with the approval of the budget, if you understand, Councillor, what I'm saying. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Porter, you may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I tend to differ with the on the issue raised by Councillor Buddha. When this item deals with the council or administration going out to public participation, and there's a concern in terms of public participation, and I think it's relevant and prudent that, you know, Councillor Buddha must be entertained. You know, to raise an issue later on only, when the budget needs to pass, it's not going to assist Councillor Buddha, whereas he needs to apply his mind right through all the items that needs to surface and be debated, discussed, and or approved here today. So it's my understanding that Council must allow him that opportunity to speak. And also where there's a need for clarity, then he needs to be assisted in that regard.
Noted with thanks, Councillor Porter. Councillor Buddha, you've already had 2 opportunities to speak. At this point, okay. Thank you, Mr. CFO. Can I just ask, before you respond, I see the light of Councillor Machisini. Do you have a question of clarity? Before the CFO responds, then perhaps the CFO can speak also to what Councillor wishes to raise. May proceed.
In likely so the CFO, the item and applications, and that is of our manager. As Varali Namukai to my short header, a Kabele. Apple a Kabele, and this is our Tata is a great. But it is in those what is it was the best thing I could 2 and in that we what. Our Vagarga and Vagarga was one of those 2. What happened is 53 million. Got along the eBay in the Mossel by your own. Go word in evening of the Zanga mix. And goes to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Machisini. Councillor Buddha, can you switch off your light, please? CFO, can you please just, Councillor Buddha, thank you. Can you kindly just please respond? Thank you, CFO.
I think it's also to item is Section A, which deals with the summary of. But in the Annexure B, there's a summary of the inputs received. What the inputs was, as well as the responses from the municipality directorate with regards to some of the questions that were raised. So each of those is a 67 pages worth of comments that were then documented in that as such, with all the details or what was requested, what was put on the table,
and then how the municipality is responding to some of them.
And that is what we have in front of us this morning. Thank you so much, CFO. There's a Councillor De Bulla, do you have a question of clarity?
Speaker okanye kwizithethe ezithethile apha councillor ngokwale item kunezinto ezazireyiziwe kwa-IDP meetings ewadi zethu njengoba zazireyiziwe ezo zinto ezo sibona izinto ezimbalwa. Masithi umzekelo ewadi 1 kwakurezi i-sidewalk eBanong nasemaphisa but ezo zinto azikho apha. Then izophinda athi u-LM maseyijonga kulaa item yokugqibela loo nto leyo izasibetha thina ngoba kaloku izinto zagqitywa ngabantu kwi-IDP meeting zabo bezifuni. So if sizawugqitha apha ingacacanga uba ithini imali yewadi endeni ngokweemfuno zabantu izasithelekisa nabantu thina loo nto leyo kulaa ndawo sihlala kuyo singahlali kakuhle kuba izinto zingazile zingaveli apha kube kubekwe laa 53 million ingacacisi uba le 53 million yeyantoni but ibekwe yonke indawo. So besicela into yobana mayilungiswe le nto.
Thank you, Councillor De Bulla. Your input is noted. Councillor Porter, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. And on the very same note, Patriotic Alliance also has a concern with regards to the public participation processes, in particular, Ward 13, and perhaps I also need some clarity in that regard. Let me just brief Council in terms of my understanding of what transpired and what it is that is a concern. Now, in Ward 13, we had a public participation process. I think the CFO, Councillor Van Dijk, were there. Councillor Porter, myself, of course, I would want to refer to Councillor Reiters and the woman. In my understanding, there was our public participation process was split in two. Whereas the second part was supposed to be the spatial development framework that needs to be dealt with. In the run-up to that meeting, the next meeting, there has been a circular from the Councillor Reiters, the ward councillor, that there are 7 wards, right, where the public participation process could not have been finalized. And it's also indicated that it's not going to happen. The people that are invited to make comments. Now, I have my view in terms of that, but I just want to have an indication that 7 wards that has been identified. Who are those wards? Where are they? Whose wards are they? What number of wards it is? And what were the 2 reasons that gave rise to the fact that this public participation process could not have been concluded?
Thank you, Councillor Porter. It was not 7 wards, it was 5 wards. So I am going to ask that Director Jantjies respond to it with reference to the processes, but I can confirm that through the ward forum meeting, we had a discussion with the ward councillors. Following a number of incidents that happened, we had the meetings not being able to proceed due to load shedding, and there were some disruptions at one meeting where 2 wards was joined. So the Office of the Speaker then requested extension to those 5 councillors for the wards through the relevant ward committees to provide opportunity for the public then after the due date which was set by the municipality. And then 7 days was afforded to the respective 5 wards. Each ward councillor received a notice We did flyers, and the IDP office assist in that regard with reference to informing the community. So just shortly, that I know due to the processes that followed from the Office of the Speaker, but it was 5 wards, Councillor Porter. And Director Jantjies can respond.
Chairman, I think you've said it all in terms of the questions from Councillor Speaker. Well, I think the Councillor Porter. I think I was passed on the Councillor in terms of what process will follow to ensure that those inputs are coming.
And the respective wards was Ward 14, 13, 15, 3 and 2. 13, 15, Ward 3 and Ward 2. Councillor Buddha, I've given you 2 opportunities in terms.
No, I'm not going to talk about that.
In terms, okay.
Speaker, as you know, in other words, the public participation was not properly. In other words, for instance, in my term, it was pasted during the closer to the Easter, and then the people Easter, there were less than 7. The people there, and then the people asked the meeting to be rescheduled. And then I don't know why the director refused to reschedule the meeting while the meeting was putting closer to the deadline. Why he refused to repeat the meeting, to call the community, so that all of us get the proper consultation to the community.
Thank you, Councillor Buddha. I just want to draw Council's attention that we will, at 1 to 5, speak to the IDP, which we will have to also approve, and deliberations at that point can also then be done. I just want to take you to the recommendation of item E1 to 3, and it was very clearly explained by the CFO. What we have in front of us through this item, as indicated by the CFO, comments from the public came in, and the recommendation is that the comments and the recommendations of the Directors and Budget Steering Committee and the objections from the public and municipal departments be accepted, and that the 5th generation integrated development plan and the budget tariff list and budget related policies for 2022 and 2023 and the 2 outer years be amended accordingly. That is the item for approval in front of us, councillors, and I want to ask, I acknowledge you, Councillor Gous. Councillor Porter, can you please put off your light? You've had 2 opportunities to speak. I'll grant Councillor Gous a question of clarity on the item, and then I wish to proceed. We have a proposer and a seconder, and then I'm going to put to council if there's any counter proposals in that regard to finalize.
If I may, it seems like you're not going to give me an opportunity. I saw clarity. And I think I deserve also an opportunity to respond to the matter. On the issue that you have raised in terms of items that is still coming, everybody in this council knows the rules before council. Now, if we are going to deliberate later on issues that we could have deliberated on now, the very same thing that we are doing now to limit us when we're dealing with the budget itself. But we don't want to rope in issues like this when we deal with budget and monetary monthly issues. Just by my speaker with due respect, let me conclude on this thing, because I don't want to bring this thing up again when we talk numbers. Thank you very much.
Councillor Gous, you may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, from the ACDP side, I'd like to express my objection about the fact that we got all this documentation with 3 days to review. I'm very well aware of the fact that we got the draft documentation rather, should I say, in March already. And so we did have 2 months to work through that, which we did. I did raise questions, I received answers. but 3 days to work through amended documentation. Speaker, if you want to do a good job, which I would like to do, and which I believe I owe the constituents and the residents of Mossel Bay, 3 days is not sufficient for us to work through. And particularly when it comes to public participation, Speaker, I know this municipality has undertaken, take seriously, because if somebody is heard and somebody is understood, and the issues have been raised and they feel that that has been given the due consideration, then I believe we don't have protests and we don't have issues like that in our town. But if public participation comes to this municipality, 67 pages worth, as the CFO has mentioned, and we don't get a proper opportunity to work through it, there's issues here, just scanning through it, Vriendesheim, Brandvlag, Grootbrak, have raised very valid issues that I haven't seen us comment on or say that we're going to address in any way. And so for that reason, Speaker, I'm going to abstain on this item because it says that the amendments be accepted due to the objections and comments. So I will abstain on this item, Speaker, and more than likely, well, on most of these items for exactly the same reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gous. I'm noting that you are going to abstain on this item, and I thank you for your inputs made. Can I, where's the red light? Councillor Baron, you may proceed. 10 minutes caucus. Okay, now the Freedom Front is asking for 10 minutes caucus, and they are 2 councillors, so I'm assuming that the 2 of them will be in discussion, and I don't know with who they will be talking. But I am more than willing to grant you that 10 minutes as requested. Thank you very much. Council adjourned in for 10 minutes, councillors. Thank you very much, councillors. We then are reconvening the meeting. The Freedom Front has requested for a caucus, and I would now like to request Councillor Baron to kindly provide feedback to council. Thank you, Councillor Baron. You may proceed.
Thank you. On this point, Freedom Front will abstain. Reasoning that our budget is right on the agenda. This point is all of them have to do with the budget. Sorry for abstaining.
Thank you very much. The Freedom Front is indicating that they are also abstaining. We then have the ACDP and the Freedom Front. Councillor Porter, I acknowledge you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Having listened to, when I saw clarity, you give an explanation which was passionately supported by the director. In conclusion, from a patriotic alliance side, is that Ward 2, 3, 13, 14, and 15, the way you expressed yourself and explained to us, as I said, I'm residing in Ward 30, and I don't know, you only refer to a number of issues, the incidents that took place. And those incidents has never been, made aware of or spoken to, even to us as councillors. And I think we deserve even the right to know exactly what is happening in our world, because it's our duty to go and assist where necessary. Whatever the incidents might have been, we have a role to play when it comes to this council, the municipality, and very much important, the community out there. So therefore, Speaker, there is no real indication as to what were the incidents, what gave rise to the fact that these critical processes. The fundamental thing about an IDP is the integrated process, and integration means that there must be a meaningful process between the council and the municipality and our community. And therefore, we're not going to support this item as a patriotic alliance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So you are also abstaining. Thank you, Council. Against.
Counter proposal.
So do you have a counter proposal?
Well, no, I don't have a counter proposal.
You're just against. Thank you, Councillor Porter. Councillor Buddha, I acknowledge you. Yeah, you may proceed.
Since we elaborate that there was no proper consultation at the what, we ask the official to go back so we have a proper consultation with our community. It is very important in our we must raise issues. Therefore, I'm not going to support that. It's this action. Since there was a lot of dynamics.
There's a counter proposal, it's a confidence.
Councillor Buddha, is that your counter proposal? Okay, is there a seconder for Councillor Buddha? You may proceed. Thank you, Councillor Mpuntu, for seconding it. We then have the Freedom Front abstaining, the ICDP abstaining, the Patriotic Alliance against. And there's a counter proposal by the ANC.
If I may, can you maybe just clarify what that counter proposal was on the ANC? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buddha. Can you just reframe your counter proposal, please?
I said, when we are in the process of the IDP, like the Maiwat, the IDP was untested during the Easter. All the things that were gone, the Easter, the churches, and everybody. Just As soon as we go back, the people inside there ask me, we must reschedule the meeting. There was a request from the committee inside.
To reschedule the meeting.
And they never rescheduled the meeting. Yes, and failure. So based on that, we can't support it. Based on that. In other way, also.
Still with counter proposals that go back and recommunication be rescheduled.
So Councillor Buddha is requesting for us then to go back to the community due to the fact that they did not have an opportunity. Is that what you're proposing?
So, yeah, there's a time is up. So I'm not supporting this.
Okay. Councillor House, is that clear? Your understanding?
Speaker, as you articulated it, I understand it is a counter proposal. As Councillor Buddha articulated it, merely his reasons for why he's not supporting it. But if his counter proposal is that the municipality engage the community again for comment on the IDP, then I understand that as a counter proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All in favour then of the proposal of Councillor Buddha to go back to the community to ask for comments and allow them an opportunity because of the fact that it was Easter weekend and there were not a lot of people who attended that specific IDP meeting in the respective ward, which is Ward 12. All in favour of Councillor of the proposal, councillors, I'm putting now the counter proposal and the proposal to vote, please. We're concluding on this matter. All in favour of the counter proposal made by Councillor Buddha, can you please raise your hand?
Can we add the proposal?
Councillor Porter, Councillor Porter, can you kindly just switch off your light, please? The counter proposal of Councillor Buddha is put to vote now. Can you please raise your hands? Those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We then have 6 for the proposal of Councillor Buddha. Those in favour of accepting the recommendations as being proposed. Can we get the hands by the mayor? Thank you very much, councillors. We then conclude on item E1.
17.
The administration does have the count. We conclude on item E1, 2, 3. Councillors, we are on item E as Councillor House.
My apologies. I want to ask from a legal perspective, do we have the time to go back to the community? If I read the MFMA, I know that we have to approve the budget at least 30 days before we started the new financial year. But I also, if I'm reading it correctly, then we also have, if we do not approve the budget today, we have to approve it within 7 days after that. Could you just get clarity, because that will help to inform further decisions on the items at hand. Thank you.
May I put on your light? May you may put on your light? You may, Councillor Baron.
I understand procedural council correctly. Meaning the ruling party to win the vote. So the proposal of Councillor Baron. So that's finished. Thank you.
We've concluded through a vote. That's absolutely correct. Mayor, would you like to comment?
Yeah, Speaker, I think also exactly on what Councillor Fox said, that's why we shouldn't obviously consider it.
Thank you very much. Councillors, we are then at item E1 to 4 on the agenda, page 947. The provincial government comments on the draft 2022-2023 budget, spatial development framework and integrated development plan. We have our recommendations listed 1 to 2. Can I have a proposal in this regard, please?
Madam Speaker, I'll propose.
Thank you, Councillor Furness. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Furness?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I would like to second the item.
Thank you, Executive Deputy Mayor. Is there any questions of clarity or counter proposal? Councillor Buddha, Councillor Gous, in that order, you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, from the board. You said the recommendation, everything here. Again, you want to have the gist of the story from the director. You can just summarize this item. So that you can see what there's a lot of attachment. As we all know that. You see this agenda in a short time of space and then a lot of attachment. So we want just the director can just take us through a little bit, just a sum up.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gous. I'm going to allow for you also to ask your question. Then the CFO can respond.
Thank you, Speaker. My question relates to the legality of the council proposals that we make in chambers. So I'm only using the first one as an example. That's why I raised the issue from the MFMA. If our Mr. Prince can guide us, please, because I know that these legislation that states it's illegal for a councillor to make a proposal that is against any of the acts. And so we need to be guided as councillors that we don't make proposals that are illegal. And if it's then true that we have to approve the budget 30 days before the start of the new financial year, then we cannot make any proposals that will prevent us from accepting or declining the budget now. That's why I asked for clarity on what the MFMA says regarding the 7 days. So if anything happens now, because look, it will affect whether we can then say, let's go back to the community because we've got another 7 days. So if Mr. Prince can just provide clarity, Speaker, then the rest of us will know regarding the following items on the agenda and what resolutions we can take. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Gous. CFO, can you please respond to the question on the item in front of us by Councillor Buddha? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. With regards to the summary, the summary for these an analyst looks at our budget that we submit as part of the draft that we drafted to council. They've been looking at various aspects. They look at financial revenue, they look at our expenditure, they look at the capital projects, they look at our intended growth in both development and municipality. And then they look at the history of the financials of the past, what we intend to do next year, and they kind of give us a feel of you are budgeting within the norms, you are over budgeting certain items, there's certain norms for repairs and maintenance. They say, are you in line with it? And then what they do is they then give us findings that they would like us to give comment on or respond on, and that's what we then bring to council as part of this report. Some of they've got little faces as well. If I can refer to page, just an example, page 997 of the agenda. This is a table of financial ratios. They look at that as well. They say, all within the norms, all the outside, where we must consider things to consider to bring it back. And that's what we give feedback on to them. And then they also come and have a discussion with them. They sit us down and we have to engage in these discussions. And then obviously part of this that there is findings on some of these matters. We the municipality then also responded on as part of the budget process. To make sure that the budget that is submitted and approved by council is in fact something that the province and national community, this budget can work for the municipality, and it will drive or address all the issues of concern. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, CFO, Councillor Buddha. You covered by the feedback. You covered. Okay. Thank you very much, Executive Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, I've also went through it, the report. There's obviously some good stuff, and then there's some stuff that concerns me. So I did ask the finance chairperson yesterday that we also go through the document at the next micro-direction. There's some proposals and stuff that Treasury wants us to implement or to consider, so that we can just discuss that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions of clarity on the item from anybody else? Not. Mr. Prince, would you like to respond to the question by Councillor Gous?
Thank you, Speaker. In brief, the question regarding legality, in short, is that, of course, you can't take illegal decisions. However, in this stage, without going into frameworks, time frameworks, the matter was simply dealt with by means of vote. So I think the matter was dealt, and I don't think we have to go into that debate at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince. Councillors, is there anybody who wishes to, with reference to the item in front of us, raise any other questions of clarity? Councillor Gous, you have a follow-up?
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, regarding Mr. Prince. Thank you, Mr. Prince. It's true that the matter itself was voted down, but the fact is that the proposal made, we need to understand that is legal part so that it guides our future proposals in the chamber, particularly with reference to today's agenda. If we can please give clarity on that. And then, Speaker, the ACDP will abstain on this item as well, because once again it says that Council approved the amendments made to the budget and the IDP documentation. And as the Mayor has also referred to the fact that there are some concerns, and we haven't had an opportunity to address the document, to really examine it, rather abstain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The ICDP is then abstaining from this item. Councillor Baron. Thank you very much. The Freedom Front is also abstaining from this particular item. Councillor Porter, you may proceed. Thank you very much, Councillor Porter. Stay, Councillor Buddha.
Yes, abstention.
Thank you very much. We then have the ANC, the ICDP, the PA, and then the Freedom Front abstaining from this item. Our administration have that on record. Thank you very much, councillors. We are then at item E125 on page 1024. The approval of the 2022 to 2027 fifth generation integrated development plan. We have the recommendations of this item listed from 1 to 3. On page 1025, it concludes. Can I ask for a proposal in this regard, please?
Madam Speaker, I would like to propose this item.
Thank you, Councillor Kutsia. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Kutsia?
Madam Speaker, I will second.
Thank you, Councillor Botha. Is there any questions of clarity or counter proposal on item E125? Councillor Gous, I acknowledge you. You may proceed, please.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, if you look at the recommendation for this item, point number 1, states that Council approved 2022-2027 fifth generation IDP as a principal strategic planning instrument which will guide and inform all planning and development and all decisions regarding planning, management, and development of my local municipality. Speaker, this is why the previous items were so critical. And this is why we should have had sufficient time to truly look through it and give it our best which I feel we were not given the opportunity. And for that reason, once again, Speaker, ACDP abstains.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gous. We then have the ACDP who is abstaining. Is there any questions or inputs? Freedom Front, Councillor Baron, you may proceed.
Speaker, still part of the budget. Still we need to discuss, so we will abstain.
The Freedom Front is also abstaining. Is there any questions or comments from any other councillor at this stage? Councillor Porter, you may proceed. Thank you, Councillor Porter. Councillor Tabula. The ANC is also abstaining. We then have the Freedom Front, the ACDP, the PA, and the ANC abstaining from this item, and it is then minuted. So, thank you very much, councillors. We are then at our next item, E126, our draft. Apologies for the mayor, he's just leaving for the bathroom. He has not been feeling well. We are on item E126, the draft Mossel-based spatial development framework and environmental management framework 2022. The item is in front of us for for
Madam Speaker, I would like to propose this item, and I would just like to request if you could please give an opportunity to the Director of Planning to just give a synopsis of comments received after the closing period on the FPF, please.
Thank you, Councillor Kutsia, that you are proposing that Council take cognizance of this item as per the recommendations. Director Venter, you may proceed.
Speaker, now, like yesterday after working time, received comments from individual concerning the inclusion of the area north of the include, basically to be included in the urban edge of the municipality. That aspect has been dealt with in the SDF, and the argument is on the table in the SDF. It's well debated that due to the accessibility of off-ramp that needs to be constructed there, at this point in time, it's not proposed to be included in the SDF. However, recognition is given in the SDF that future expansion of the ground will happen in that particular area. And in the meantime, should the owner of the land want to propose a development, it can be a site-specific application to the municipality. And then secondly, it's a pressure group in Bochumsdrive that also submitted very late comments. However, we had a public meeting with them at Bochums Bay, and they were all part of that meeting, and all the comments received was raised at that public meeting. And it was comments to be fair, to be considered fair by us, and the SDF was also then amended accordingly. So we just received the time writing from them, and those two sets of comments we just like to include it in the final SDF. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Director Venter. Councillors, we then had our Spatial Development Framework and Environmental Management Framework document was served in February 22 in front of Council, followed by IDP process, and it is then therefore for cognizance with the input made by Director Venter. Can I have then a seconder for the proposal made by Councillor Kutsia for that input of the Director?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm seconding.
Thank you, Executive Deputy Mayor. Is there any questions of clarity from any councillor at this point? Councillor Porter, you may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. With reference to what I put on record earlier, it's better.
Thank you very much. The Patriotic Alliance is abstaining. Councillor Mkontu, you may proceed.
Mossel Speaker. As for ANC, Yoruba,
Thank you very much.
but not abstaining because class theta ni partial development. Theta ni Yoruba the address and the injustice. Apa nithethe ngentoba ndigena iqaphela uba ndithetha 13% yomhlaba okubantu abamnyama nabamhlophe. Wonke omnye umhlaba usengubantu ababexhamla izambane likaphondo. So ndicela into yokuba sibe ngaphandle nathi.
Thank you so much, Councillor Mkontu. The ANC is indicating that they are abstaining. Councillor Gous, you may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. May I just first, before I abstain on the matter, just compliment the administration on the same as with the IDP, a very comprehensive document that I know has taken many, many months to come out. And for that reason, it's even more distressing for me that I have to abstain on the document because I never had an opportunity to evaluate the input that have now caused an amendment to the document. So please, if we can in future, see to it that councillors, at least if we end up in this predicament where we only have 3 days before we can approve the document, that we then at least on the Monday morning have a council workshop, Speaker, where the amendments can be addressed with us directly, and then we can really give a well-considered input here at council chambers and make a decision that we are certain is the correct one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gous. And then will you be abstaining from this item? Thank you. Then we have the ACDP abstaining from this item. Municipal Manager, a request then there from Councillor Gous with reference to a council who needs to have adequate and ample time to peruse all documents in order to take informed decisions, and the request then for a workshop. And I believe that the Municipal Manager is taking note of that. Thank you, Councillor Baron. Thank you very much. We then also have the Freedom Front who is abstaining. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Mkontu,
Can I just
you have a question?
it's not a question. I just want to support in a way that sometimes it's better when we come in from the council in the document so that we have those clarity. We are not coming in opposition, coming as the council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mkontu, for your input. We are then at item E1 to 7. Councillor Gous, I have concluded with the item. Thank you so much. We are on item E1 to 7. On page 1761, the adjustment to the tabled budget related policy, short-term insurance. That is the item in front of us for approval as per the recommendation on page 1762. That council approves the short-term insurance policy as amended. Can I have a proposal in this regard, please?
Madam Speaker, I'll propose.
Thank you, Councillor Furness. Do we have a seconder for Councillor Furness?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Is there any questions of clarity on this matter? Councillor Gous, you may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Can we just get clarity, looking at the adjustments, the explanation that theft not be listed, and then also an explanation of the phrase captured in the word found negligent, proof of forceful entry. I think that was points 2 and 3 in the item. Could just give an explanation on that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Gous. CFO, can I ask you to just respond to those two questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. With regards to the amendment, firstly, the reason for the change in the policy was to accommodate our staff as no nothing but that usually when we aren't able to cover this completely, and we try to accommodate as much as we can. With regards to the writing of theft and found negligence, it might be unfair for us to hold someone accountable if there's a theft, because obviously we have to kind of prove, or at least we'd like them to prove, that they're not found to be negligent. However, if they are negligent, it's something for us to consider. That is why we provide the wording found negligent. And forced entry being, we don't want someone's laptop to go missing, and the person says it's not my fault. Where at least UClear was taken with regards to the asset of the municipality. The theft is the theft and the fire, and that theft is there must be. I didn't leave my laptop at the front door, and someone was easily taken. But the theft is to be removed because not necessarily to pay out. Management that would be that. How you help someone responsible and it's not legal to keep someone stole something from it.
Thank you, CFO. Councillor Gous, do you have clarity on your questions? Comfortable? Thank you very much. Is there any other questions of clarity or any counter proposal to this item? I see no indication. The item then carries unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. We are then at item E128. The approval of the budget for the 2022-2023 MTREF period. Can I please have a proposal in this regard?
Speaker.
Executive Mayor, over to you.
Thank you, Speaker. Before I do my little budget speech, I want to thank the various teams of the administration who did a lot of hard work over the past months, starting with the IDP team sitting up there, the A team, and some of them part of the soccer A team. So, and then I've seen Yaku as well, the Penta, thank you very much for all the work that went into the SDF. I've seen you guys a lot of nights in the community, thank you for that. Then also to obviously Director Jantjies, his whole team, as I've mentioned, then the CFO and his team, thank you very much. I know that all the directorates work together, but at the end of the day, the buck stops with you in terms of the finances and so on. And we, like yesterday afternoon, we've had a few harsh words again, but that's part of the system. So just to all the other colleagues, it's not only fun and games in here all the time. Obviously, we're trying to do the best we can, but yeah, there's sometimes some frustration. So let's be honest, no organization's perfect, but I think all in all, you and your team did a great job. Thank you very much. So it's an honor for me to carry this in. This will be the first budget table in the term of this council and will jumpstart our 5-year term in office. Council, together with the administration, has worked diligently in the drafting of the budget, a process that has started a considerable time ago. We have been mindful of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy of our town, and that has impacted each of our lives in some way or another. I thank the Mossel Bay community for their continued support to the Mossel Bay municipality and for their excellent commitment and maintaining a very high payment rate of the municipal accounts. This has had a positive impact on the sustainability of the municipality. The real gross domestic product, the GDP growth of 2.1% is projected for 2022, Over the next 3 years, GDP growth is expected to average 1.8%, while headline inflation is expected to remain between 3 and 6%, ranging over the 22-23 interim. National Treasury is of the view that industrial action in the manufacturing sector and the re-emergence of load shedding has slowed the pace of economic recovery. While Mossel has seen some recovery over the festive season, however, residents and businesses remain under severe pressure amidst the rising fuel prices and the effects of the conflict in Ukraine and the global economy. The war will likely impair production of a wide range of energy, food, and other commodities, and obviously further disrupt global trade, as we are unfortunately experiencing at this stage. The sustainability of the municipality in the long run remains one of our top priorities, and we are consistently exploring innovative solutions to improve our sustainability. The municipality has managed to generate an over-recovery of 4.2% of its set billable revenue budgeted for 22-21 and appropriately budgeted for its revenue generation for the period. The results is indicating that the municipality not only budgets correctly, but also meets all targets set for billable revenue. These facts and our repeated clean audit findings are also contradictory to malicious and unfounded statements currently in circulation regarding our finances. It is dangerous to spread unfounded information as facts based on desktop exercises, not keeping in mind the context, local government legislation and compliance like GRAP, and then to go and compare criteria with totally different classification bases. This can be seen as comparing apples with coconuts, not with apples. It is not only dangerous, but also misleading the community, and I would therefore remind councillors that spreading such unfounded information as facts is in contravention with our code of conduct and can be seen as bringing this council into disrepute. Mossel Municipality's revenue growth has exceeded the consumer price index CPI for the reviewed period. This is an impressive feat as the revenue growth has increased above inflation, albeit during a global pandemic. I thank our consumers for setting their municipal accounts timelessly and diligently. With sustainability at the forefront of our considerations, tariff increases have been kept to the minimum for the 22-23 financial year to ensure the continued level of service delivery, as the municipality is not insulated from the various inflationary pressures on our operations. I give the residents of Mossel the assurance that a tremendous and diligent effort has been made to balance the financial sustainability of the municipality service delivery while keeping in mind the economic pressures residents are facing. As a municipality, we face difficult times ahead, for which a focused approach needs to be followed, which includes accurate revenue forecasts, reductions within operational expenditures, and finding solutions to stimulate the economy through infrastructure development. We continue to strive to provide and maintain the highest standards of service delivery in the country, even though we face challenges such as the impact of COVID-19. Bulk electricity supply prices on the increase and the re-emergence of load shedding, as we as infrastructure and as we also as Eskom is also experiencing infrastructure constraints. And then also low business and consumer confidence at this stage, and a decrease in local government grant allocations as well. If we look at salaries, as per the South African Local Government Bargaining Council Circular 01 of 2022 received 15 March, all parties have come to the agreement in relation to the salary wage increases for 22-23, and that will be 4.9%. A salary adjustment of 4.9% with normal notch increases, and the filling of vacant and new positions amounts to an increase in the employee-related costs of 10.3%. This is also a bit higher than previous years due to the fact that we are busy filling some of the posts that were vacant for very long, due to the fact you have also seen some of Treasury's comments were regarding capital spending and so forth. And obviously, with the town growing and having all these projects, you need people to do the job. And that's why it's critical that we fill some of these posts. Budget and tariff information, much of the total operational budget, almost 80% thereof, is made up of the bulk purchases of electricity, cost of purified water, debt impairment and depreciation charges, employee-related costs, and the remuneration of councillors. And just tongue in the cheek, I've seen some of these malicious reports that's doing which is in circulation. I think I've paid in the previous years 6 million or 4 million rand more than the previous mayor. So yeah, I don't know how that was achieved. But anyway, it was very refreshing for me to see that I've paid so much more than the mayor in the previous term. But anyway, that's why I say it's malicious information being spread, colleagues. Budget and tariff information. Much of the total operational budget. Yeah, sorry, I've been there. This is now when you do not follow your speech and talk nonsense in between. Okay. So long story short, this leaves council with no or very little room to maneuver in. Even though tariff charges should be cost reflective to have a credible budget, the tariff should also be obviously affordable. The budget provides for 1,401,137,778 rand of the operational budget, while the capital budget of 284,937,020 rand tabled is funded by 133,293,890 rand of own funds, 60,100,000 of new borrowings, and 91,543,180 rand of grants and donations. Affordability. Retirees prefer possibly Mossel Bay as a destination due to services and affordable rates. Our property rates compared on residential property valued at 2 million this stage, Pito 666 rand, Oudtshoorn 1,600, George 1,200, Esekwa 1,155, Kanaland 2,165, and Mossel Bay at this stage 450 rand. And once again, that is how we compared. So yes, there is a 9% proposal on the table on property, but it's once again it's important that we remember that we are on a very low basis, much lower than all the other towns in the Western Cape, and that's why it's a bit higher proposal. We are currently the most affordable municipality in the Western Cape, and even though tariff charges should be cost reflective to have a credible budget, the tariff should stay affordable. So at this stage, the 22-23 budget year, we propose then electricity tariff increase in line with NASA of 7%. Property rates tariff is proposed to increase with 9%. Refuge removal tariff 8%, and then water and sewage services with 4%. In relief measures for households, it is important to note that the normal credit control measures to get residential households in the safety net for assistance still exists. The safety net is in the form of indigent household subsidies and the rebate subsidies for the pensioners. These measures are not limited only to certain people or groups of the community. It is available to all residents that fall within the specific indigent categories. An additional provision was made for the number of indigent households, as the municipality is bringing in a new category of indigent household, which is based on the valuation of a property. Valuations based on under 125,000 will be automatically classified as indigent households. The new criteria will also drive down our debt impairment with these new benefits to the poorest of the poor. An additional provision was also made to the number of pensioners that will be able to apply for pensioner rebates. Indigent households will again receive the benefit of discounts on basic service delivery charges such as water, electricity, refuge removal, sanitation, and property rights. The 3 levels of indigent subsidy are specifically developed to provide economic relief to those in the community who really need it. This relief is also extended to households, including a person with a disability, should they comply with the necessary specified criteria. Then the indigent level 1 household, that subsidy will go up from 776 rand 8 cent to 823 rand and 9 cent. All these figures are VAT inclusive. The indigent level 2 household will go up from 388 rand and 4 cent to 411 rand and 53 cent. Households with people with a disability, that will go from 776 rand and 8 cent to 823 rand and 9 cent. And then the indigent level household 3, which is obviously there's no current data available for the new upcoming financial year, that will be 823 rand and 9 cent based on the 125,000 rand valuation. The criteria on which the subsidies are based are described in the tariff list, also under section 6. The municipality has not forgotten the plight of our pensioners and has provided for a pensioner discount on both the property rates and storage charges, with discounts ranging between 30 and 50% depending on the income of the qualifying pensioners. Then, colleagues, the top 10 capital projects, the upgrading of informal settlements, that was 60 million. I think the UISP will be down there with 20 million if I've got that correct. So there must be a 20 million adjustment. But then the capacity increasing the Great Brock wastewater treatment works, that's 40.5 million upgrading of the informal settlements once again. So that one will be 13.504 million. Main sewer network between Glentana and Great Brock River, that's 12 million. Then capacity increase in Pinnacle Point wastewater treatment works, also another 9.9, almost 10 million. Upgrade of the 66 kV overhead line between Duinster and Offord-Botma, 9.5 million. Midbrock main sewer network, 8.5 million. Upgrading of the CBD stormwater, 7.6 million. Upgrade of Herbersdale water reticulation, 6.5 million. And the tarring of streets and roads, that is 6.4 million. So I've rounded this down or up, and obviously all the just information is in the budget as well. Then, colleagues, then just once again, in terms of census 2022, this is why it's so important that we make sure that all our residents are being counted, so that we can qualify for our fair amount of equitable share, that we can utilize that money to the benefit of the vast amount of pensioners and poor people in our town. Then final word with this budget, Mossel Bay Council consistently invests in its capital asset base throughout the review period. The municipality's asset management seems impeccable based on the trends of acquisitions relative to expenditure, and that capital assets are continually replenished to provide adequate service delivery to citizens. Mossel Bay Municipality's net asset position is sound, indicating that the municipality operates on an ongoing concern. The municipality is still in good financial standing and position. This council is stable and we have got a funded and credible 22-23 MTREF budget with clear linkage between planning and budgeting, thereby prioritizing the quality of services and the lives of citizens despite the challenges to allocate its limited resources amongst the vast number of needs of its community. We once again would like to convey our gratitude to all our consumers who have diligently paid their municipal accounts monthly. It must be emphasized that people who can afford it should continue to please pay their accounts. Should consumers be unable to meet their obligations to the municipality, they should immediately engage with the municipality to make the necessary arrangements to settle accounts that is outstanding. This arrangement is applicable for residents, for residential, commercial, and industrial consumers. All outstanding accounts will follow the municipality's debt collection processes. We believe that as the sphere of government that is closest to the people, the municipality carries the profound obligation to respond directly, immediately, and positively to the needs and challenges of our stakeholders and community. I must take the opportunity to thank the administration once again, as well as the Budget Steering Committee for their hard work, long hours, in compiling the budget, and then also the other teams, as I've mentioned. Finally, I want to reaffirm the combined effort of the political leadership and management to the vision of Mossel Municipality as a trend-setting, dynamic municipality delivering quality services, responsive to the demands and challenges of the whole society, in line with our constitutional mandate. Speaker, then there's just two small amendments that I want to carry in. The one is on the tariff list. There should be a small amendment for the Kwano Business Park and the Tarka Amphitheatre, that we bring in a rate of 500 Rand per day or per function, so that we have got a tariff for the new amphitheatre as well, and also for the Kwano Park there was not a fee there or a tariff. And then the other one is in terms of the ECC on the operational budget to bring in an additional amount of 1,550,000 Rand that must be added to the operational costs. And that's it from my side, so I propose, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Executive Mayor. Do we have a seconder for the proposal and the amendments added by the Mayor?
Madam Speaker, I'll gladly second. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Furness. Is there any questions of clarity or comments from any councillor to this item? Councillor Baron, I see your light.
Thank you, Speaker. Very important for me first is to thank all the directors and the part of the members of the place for putting on the hard work, starting with the branches. Now acting director Johnson, John New, and also our municipal manager was leading them. Thanks, directors and everything for all your hard work. From the side of the Freedom Front Plus budget, also out of my position as the chairperson. As the impact chairperson, my responsibility, I am co-responsible to make sure that our financial position in Mossel is healthy. That's part of me. So from the side of the Freedom Front Plus, there's a few concerns that we need to iron out. And I think we don't have a long time to iron these problems out. So therefore, I want to make a few proposals. But firstly, we want to say, currently our inflation rate is standing on 0.41. So the first thing we need to consider. The first problem that we need to iron out with our director, in councillors, we have a new MM. We have a new director disappointed. We have a new mayor disappointed. So they are all new. The first thing maybe I must point out is 2014, our position was very healthy, our municipal position. Our financial states, there was a true performance of 160 million. That means without grants and without fines, we had that healthy position. But from 2014 until 2021, at our current states, it's not that healthy anymore. If you work without grants and you work without fines, because if you go to fines, whose fines is it? It's for the rate and taxpayers. So it's negative to them. So they must pay their fines. If we go to the grants, the grants have two sides. The one good side from the grants is that there's an equitable share that goes to our Untitled households. It is supporting us. But we, as the Freedom Fund Plus, we say this municipality must go back to 2014, whereby we had a positive without grants and without fines, so that we can say our municipality is able to function independent on its own. That's how the Freedom Fund Plus is feeling. Then the debtor days, we need to look at the debtor days municipal manager. We discussed it with our director, finance, because our debtor days is now standing currently at 42.3. Now, everybody knows the moment it's going over 30 days, then it's a problem. So 42 days for our debtors is not good enough. We need to look into that figure. Yeah, and the last thing, maybe I must also say our problems for our debtors, we all know where it's coming from. It worsened because of COVID. Although the problems comes before COVID. The biggest problem, COVID just make it to escalate. Our biggest problem, we all know, is Eskom. Eskom put a lot of people out of work. The fact that companies give people work time trouble, they close. All of them close. The restaurant, they close. And this Eskom problem is not finalized yet. If we see the news and we find out we are not at load shedding anymore, we are already at blackouts. So there's a big difference between load shedding and blackouts. So the problem will escalate. So that's why we, as the Freedom Fund Plus, what we are saying, we say the percentage that we currently want to increase will not assist current situation whereby our taxpayers are in. I'm not talking about the indigent people that we already support. We are talking about the middle income, all that we as the municipality spend on. We as the Freedom Fund Plus, we don't want to go higher than the inflation rate, the current inflation rate. So we are at a maximum of 5% increase in general. Yeah, so that's the stance of the Freedom Fund Plus. Obviously, we don't support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baron. Your input is noted, and then of course you're indicating that you are against. Thank you very much. Councillor Furness.
Madam Speaker, would this be a time to say something with the public if the rest of what we speak?
Yeah, let's allow for you can I'll come back to you, Councillor Furness, if I can rule as such. Then I just want to give adequate opportunity to other councillors from our opposition parties. And I see the light of Councillor Buddha. You may proceed.
Madam Speaker. So We are reaching the same thing, I believe. So what I want to know, what is the allocation? Money. And that. As I elaborate, that's the plan. Don't want to see other one where are just stay in the hand. Other one they've got a lot of money. But just all of us to take this service delivery very soon. This is a budget, and the budget must speak to the issue raised by the community outside. That is my question.
Thank you, Councillor Buddha. So CFO, if you quote that, it's question of what is the budget allocation then to the wards 1, 2, 3, and 12, with reference to what Ward 15 is currently receiving. Is there any other questions before I hand to the CFO? Any councillor want any clarity on this matter at this stage? No, CFO, then you can answer the question of Councillor Buddha. Thank you so much.
Speaker, based on the adjusted figures and things, from what I can see from the capital spending, Ward 1 has nothing budgeted for the 22-23 year, but there's a 2 million in the 2023-24 financial year, and a further 750,000 in the outer year 24-25 year. Ward 2 gets 7.5 million for 180,000 current year, nothing the next year. Ward 3 will receive for capital project of 7.5 million, and 6.5 million in the year following that. Another 4.8 million in the year after that. And then Ward 12, there was just this not anything specific capital wise, so we have to see that there's to find out if there's I don't think there's anything capital for the next 3 years. And then Ward 15 is sitting with that detail. I just have to check again. It's lying under the municipality as a whole. Probably as a whole, because it was a new ward. And that in total, we're sitting at 178.2 million for next for the year. 141 million and 170 million.
Thank you, CFO, and that's on capital projects. CFO, that's on capital projects budgeted for the respective wards. Thank you so much. I see the light of Councillor Porter. Councillor Buddha, you can keep yours on for your follow-up. Councillor Furness, you can put your light on. Thank you, Councillor Porter.
On that note, the CEO to you can just give us also that's 79 that report.
Thank you very much. CFO, are you comfortable? It's 7, 9. Okay, while the CFO gets himself ready, Councillor Buddha, I'll allow for your follow-up. Yes, thank you.
Did you see what I'm talking about? Do you hear the report?
The council heard, yes.
We are talking about the capital project.
Projects, yes, that's correct.
Only in our wards. That is why he said in Ward 12 is nothing for 2022-2023 in a new financial year. Can you explain that? Why? Previously, from January, I was raising the simple thing. I say in Asazan is now is a Tempe area. And then there's a play park, and then there's informal settlement, and then there's a house. Can you extend what we call the stormwater and drainage? The simple thing. And then the people from Lutu, they raised the bridge, which is capital part of them. The bridge from Lutu to Dalmita, 1330, so that the kids, when they go there, they can go easily from Sopa School and so on. But these things, they are not available. They are not allocated any money. Can you explain why is that?
Thank you very much. Then CFO, perhaps you can speak to Ward 12 because you indicated that there is under, I don't know what that line item is. Perhaps I don't know if you can provide Councillor Buddha with clarity as to, is there really nothing, no capital projects for the respective ward, or is it perhaps under another line item? CFO, are you ready to respond?
Follow up on the question with regards to now, with regards to wards 9, 7, 9, 13, and 14. 7 is we budgeted capital project of 20.5 million in the first year, 12 from the second, and 70.5 in the out year. 9, we're looking at 1.1 million in the current year, 1.9 million in the following year, and 6 million in the outer year. 13 is sitting with 1.1 million, further 1.3 million in the 425 year. Then 14 is 1.4 million in the current year, 4.1 million in the 23-24 year, and then 24-25 year is sitting with 3.5 million.
Thank you for that clarity to Councillor Porter's question. It is appreciated, CFO. Tammy, are you ready to respond to Ward 12, or do you need time? Okay. 12.
Just for 15, no projects were allocated for Ward 15 in the 23 year.
Yes.
Probably is new.
Yes.
And with regards to 12, I haven't just been able to see anything specific for 12. Just, I'll come back to that one if there's any other questions.
Thank you very much, CFO, Councillor Furness, and MM.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would just like to inform our fellow councillors a few things. The rates that we have proposed, we've looked at every option. We try to keep it as affordable as possible. The reality is, it's about the CPI, Consumer Price Index, at 4%. It's currently sitting at 5.9, probably going to go up to about 8% of the fuel price increase tonight. The reality is, when you look at that basket's made of very variable things. It includes properties and things like that. So you can't really take that as a realistic outlook of what municipality should be charging consumers. Because we have to look at what actual things cost us to deliver a service to the community, to ensure that things are running, that our community gets the best bang for their buck. Now, when we did a lot of our adjustments, for example, property was at 9% because it's a very low base. But if you look at the water and sewage, you're looking at a 4% base, so it is under the CPI, actually. The reality is things are getting more expensive. My colleague to my right did allude that we want to get back to 2014, when we had cash-funded municipality. The only way we're going to do that is by increasing our rates. We need money. We can't magically just say, no, we're not going to do it. So if we bring our rates down and say we do it on a base of 5%, we're using weekly money. And the problem is we can't deliver services to the community. It's going to affect us at the long term. So, Madam Speaker, I want to implore my colleagues, please don't look at it, don't compare it to CPI. People say things about CPI. If you actually go and you're looking at the economic value of CPI, means that we globally, we're actually seeing about inflation. Unheard of times with the United States and England sitting at 8-9% inflation. These are the best nations. I mean, realistically, guys, you don't say, I mean, fuel's going up by 3, it's all that tomorrow. Guys, that's 20%. We have to cater for that as a municipality, colleagues. This has to come us. I do agree with my colleague on the right. We want to get to a cash funded budget, fully cash funded. The lack of surplus. Look, we're going to have a surplus this year. We're going to have a surplus of 6.5. But the reality is, colleagues, we can't go and Sika is doing the same, when we go and do these adjustments, we have to look at the realistic situation, what the market is doing now. Then regarding grants, look, the grants are for the poorest of the poor. That's why we have to keep our rates where it is, that we can also assist the poorest of the poor. The people, the pensioners, we must be able to help them. We must be able to help the indigent. I mean, the families that are getting SASSA, they should not be paying full rates. And that comes back to the debtors collection. Yes, the debtors collection is hard to make. But we all know that all of us, 4 of us sitting around this table, know that once the new valuation rule is implemented, that's going to change. Our debtors are going to drop. The collection ratio is going to drop. COVID has been terrible for all of us. We know that. It hasn't helped the situation, but the reality is that we're sitting with a lot of people that don't have properties and they've been affected by the changes that we can make. It was unforeseen changes, yes, we know, but we are going to rectify them. We're going to make these changes. And that will bring down the debtors collection. And that's also why we need the grants. We have to help the first of the poor. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, I'm going to be the first to say, the people that can pay must pay. If I can afford something, I must pay. The guy next to me, if he can't pay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to help him. That's how life works. You have to look after each other, you know? And that's what I'm saying. Madam Speaker, all the rates that we went, we looked at this. It's not that we're trying to punish. If you can't afford something, speak to us. We will help. That's why we've got these pension assistance. That's why we've got the indigenous subsidies. We're not here to go and charge people. There's this malicious stuff coming out to us from the mayor in the last 5 years for 10 million rand. Where does he get 10 million rand? We've got members of our community going and blatantly lying to the community. I mean, they said my colleague next to me got 5 million. I mean, when? For what? We all know what we get. And it indicates us all from the last term.
Yes, thank you,
So, Madam Speaker, I'm just imploring my colleagues, please, we don't go and maliciously go and try and get out to our community. We're looking after our community. Everything we do is to help the people that can't afford, and the people can afford. We're going to deliver the best possible service to the whole community. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Furness, for your input made. It is welcome and acknowledged. I have Councillor Buddha for his follow-up, then Councillor Baron for his follow-up, and then Councillor Gous in that order. Thank you. You may proceed, Councillor Buddha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are not disputing the rebate, the indictment, the disability, tariffs and rates. We are not disputing that. The question here is, why is the budget in other areas a little bit huge amount of money in other areas that apply? I'll make an example in our term. There is no money 2022, 2022. That is the question. Why? When you look at the words, like I can read for you here, my colleague, Dennis. You look what 5, you look what 4, 6, 7, 8, 10 and 11. You can see the amount of money there. They put it there. Why otherwise there is no money? That's the question. In this funds currently, we don't want to speak about the capital project, 5-year plan and so on. We know that. Currently now, if we raise issue, if we go to the community, visit the community there, then there is issue. Why there is no money there allocated there? We must make a plan so that we put money there. We don't want to see the people there just frustrated outside and so on during the year, this new financial year, and then make a lot of picketing and so on. We want just this thing must be rectified.
Thank you, Councillor Baron. Councillor Buddha. Councillor Baron, you follow up.
Speaker, thank you. I'm glad to Councillor Furness response. It just shows how close it is. So if we are honest, we all want to go forward and get solutions for our problems. One thing that I want to mention is the amount that we pay out to contractors. Also need to scale down. Because for the last 4 years, 30 million every time. So, and let's also look into that one, so that we can become this municipality. Thank you.
Thank you for your input, Councillor Baron. Councillor Gous.
Thank you, Speaker. I think everybody knows by now that the ACDP delivers a comprehensive comment on the budget. And I think it might come as a relief to my fellow colleagues to know that this time the ACDP is just going to abstain. But Speaker, I have got a few concerns looking through the budget. The first was, as has been mentioned by my colleague from Freedom Front and as been mentioned by the Chief of Finance, the state of our debtors. And while we do say that the equitable share and the adjustment to, so registering indigents for the equitable share and also the adjustment to our rates, what people will pay will affect the debtors. We still are, that money is still owing and it will be just simply shifting the responsibility. So we need to take cognizance of that. Speaker, the other item that I just wanted to touch on was the increases. I feel that I can agree with what Councillor Furness is saying. Inflation rate isn't always a very good indicator. We have to look at what our costs are, and we've done a very comprehensive and expensive exercise in that regard a little while ago. I know, for example, although we are only increasing our water with 4%, we are doing so from a very high base. We have been charging a lot for water for quite a few years. So we are capping it at that simply because we shouldn't be making such a big profit on something as essential as water. As regards cost containment measures, you know that the ACDP has been concerned about the cost for contractors since 2016. It's been a consistent issue that we've raised in the budget. Speaker, I also just, before I stand down, so to speak, on this issue, is I would like to just express my thanks and appreciation to the administration. Abstaining from approving this budget is in no way a reflection of the incredible hard work that they've put in, the effort that's gone in, and the balancing act that's had to happen. I can only imagine what kind of pressure Councillor Furness and the rest of the Budget Steering Committee have been in during this time. I would like to just request again that if we can get this information at an earlier stage, we can probably also be able to assist in some small way. And as Councillor Buddha stated earlier on, not come into the council meeting as concerns the budget as opposition, but as fellow councillors wanting to take this municipality forward and do the best for the residents that we can. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you so much, Councillor Gous, for your inputs made. It is noted, and I also note that you will then be abstaining. Councillor Dabula, you may proceed.
Mr. Speaker. Engifuna ukwazi kakhulu njengobana kubonakala uba ezinye iwadi azinikwazi imali zonyaka ka-2022 ne-2023. Ingaba ezi wadi zibhilonga apho umasipala waseMossel or zibhilonga phi? Ngaze zinikwazi imali lonyaka. Then ezaa issue bezireyizwa ngabantu ba-IDP meeting ingaba zithathelwe ingqalelo umasipala. Ndicela ziphendule kuloo ndawo, Madam Speaker. Enkosi.
Thank you, Councillor Dabula. The municipal manager will respond.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I think the worst thing for the administration is to get into a council meeting and not have answers for councillors' questions. I want to compliment Councillor Gous. Every month, she will send us, not only myself, but the directors also, various questions regarding council's business. And as far as possible, we give her the answers. I think she mentioned it earlier that she gave some written answers. The question that the Councillor Buddha has answered, I've got a very, very big respect for him, my Speaker. It's very difficult for myself or the CF or even the directors that's sitting here to give answers, and these are the people that should give us the answers, Speaker. I want to ask Councillor Buddha whether it's possible for him to, if he and the colleagues can come to my office with the CFO, we'll sit down with them and try to explain to them, to answer the questions that they are asking here, because it's difficult for us here, Speaker, to give the answers out of our hands. And not myself, neither the directors want to give answers which is not correct, Councillor Buddha, because you're going to hold us accountable in future meetings. So, Speaker, if it's not an issue, I will avail some time for Councillor Buddha and his colleagues or any other councillors who wish to come to the office so that we can explain to them exactly what the answers to the questions are. And from my side, Speaker, I can just mention as many as mentioned. I think the Mayor, the Councillor Mark. I've been here since 1996. I've been in many budget preparation meetings. And in my view, this was one of the most difficult budgets, as Councillor Mark said, to balance in the end. The directors are asked for new staff members because of development. Councillor Baron referred to 2014. There was a lot of development in Mossel Bay since 2014. Some of the directors, Councillor Buddha, are without posts now for the past 3 or 4 years. We couldn't, some of the posts, it's minimum posts that we put onto the budget that we couldn't longer set up because we are also in a situation where council can end up in trouble, or the accounting officer, if certain posts were not filled. And Speaker, I'm very blessed sitting here, knowing that every meeting, the mayor and other councillors will say thank you to the administration, because they really deserve it for the work they are doing. They are really going out of their way to make things balanced for council, especially on the outside also. But Councillor Buddha, you've known me for years. You can come to me you can be at liberty to come to me at any time. I will do my best between myself and the CFO to try and answer the questions that you put here today for us. It is difficult for us to answer it here and now, Speaker.
Thank you, Municipal Manager, Executive Mayor. I see your light, Executive Mayor. You may proceed.
Speaker, yeah, thank you very much, Speaker. I just want to ask, we've got a new CFO, and as Councillor Baron mentioned, we all knew in our positions. I think next time around next year, it will be good if we can have a budget workshop with the whole council before we go to this, come to council meeting. We can also thrash out a lot of these questions, I think, well, then we've still got a bit of time. So I know also maybe the challenge is also that some of the stuff was submitted very late, and it's not due to other reasons than being our council, that our directors are very busy and so on. But I think we should look at at deadlines for submissions towards the budget. I know that we had to cut lots of millions, and I know that it was tough. So I understand that, but if we can achieve it, that we've got deadlines that's a bit closer. I know that some comments could still come in yesterday afternoon, and that was the frustration that I spoke about earlier and so on. So yeah, so if we can get that right in future, that will also alleviate some of the pressures and so on. Then I think it's also at this stage you will see that yes, our borrowings are a bit higher. We don't really want to delve into the CRR due to various reasons. We know that we utilize that fund, the interest on that in a huge way also to alleviate some of the pressure on the budget. But at this stage, I think it was a deliberate move to borrow a bit more this year around due to the fact of the amount of people moving into the town. Sorry. So we need to fast track the rollout of service delivery, especially bulk services. Sorry about that. So at this stage, I'm quite concerned, as the Premier indicated. I've mentioned it with the last meeting as well, the amount of people moving to the Western Cape. And at this stage, if we're just going to carry on rolling out infrastructure, for instance, at the rate that we did in 2014, I can promise you the community is going to be a lot more angry with us for not having the services, rather than to borrow a bit more money that this council can afford at this stage. But yes, obviously we are moving in trying times, so I think that we've spoken about maybe this year and possibly next year, and then we will definitely have to cut back on borrowings again. So speak out, just make some notes.
No, take your time here.
Then it's also important, some of the main projects, as we've mentioned, it seems that it's in specific wards, but obviously wastewater and all of these other services, it's in certain wards, but it's delivering to the whole town, so that we must also keep in mind. And then just mention some of the money that's been moved to the JOC. That money will be allocated for cameras, especially in poorer areas, and especially also in Ward 12 and 15. So at this stage, I just want to mention that I think an item, especially about the money for the JOC, will also come to council. So there will be, it's not going to be a case that there's no allocations to that two wards, but yeah, I think especially for Ward 12 for the outer years as well, CFO, that we can possibly adjust that in future, that we give all the wards a fair share of the a bite at the apple, or a fair share of the cuts of the pie. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Mayor. Councillor Buddha, it will then be your last.
Thank you, Shalini. To due respect, Executive Mayor, when we are in our communities, in respect of the ITP, and talking specifically now, when we were there, we submit the submission with immediate effect. While the official were there, even you told him. You told him when the people they are finished with the presentation, everything we submit with immediate effect before on the 30th. And the manager, and really, our argument here, we don't want to go to your office and so on and so on. We want just the official appreciate what they are doing. Really, they must spend the money in our wards also. Same applies in other wards. If you look at the diagram, the sketch is a nice sketch. They are working very hard. But we want to see the money in our wards. We don't want to see the official as politician. So we want to see the money in our wards. This is the taxpayers' money. If the people there is issues, really we don't want to see every time. Then our wards, quarters of the poor, every time they check down. We can't depend on grants when we're talking about our wards. They must spend equal like other wards, ward number 10, number 8, you name it. The dynamo, everything. I see here. I see there's a lot of money to those ones, but now what I try. There is no money. It can't be like that. That is our argument.
Thank you, Councillor Buddha. I also don't want to question anything. However, I think the CFO did mention that I don't know, but what's that line where there is being made provision, but it's then for the whole wards. I think that breakdown must be given through so that councillors like Councillor Buddha can see specifically, because we can't have it here now that there's nothing, knowingly that there is not nothing. But it's a matter of just providing the information. So I'm ruling then through the MMCFO that information or that breakdown kindly be provided to specifically our ward councillors. And I see the CFO nodding in order for Councillor Buddha to have ease of mind so that he can knows exactly. Perhaps it's not under Ward 12, but it's under your other capital projects where you're covering all the wards under that specific line item, because you don't also want to have misinformation going back to the community from this and I'm then ruling as such. Thank you, and thank you for your input, my Councillor Buddha. Councillor Machisini, and then Councillor Porto will be the last speaker on this item. In that order, then you may proceed. Thank you.
Enkosi Speaker. After I was playing the bonus CFO seat There's and for about 5 million capital market. The 5 years. And disaster is on I budget use. Ngoba pha ewa-3 azikho izinto ngoba ezanto eziphaa kwa-3 zizinto zaka-115. Izinto zaka-1-3 azikho, and then izinto zaka-1-3 ezinye zika-1-2. Umzekelo phaa ka-1-2 i-crash e-70 last ebhajethelwe 180. Ise-1-2 loo nto ayikho i-1-3. E-1-3 azikho izinto endizibonayo zase-1-3 eziphaa. And then nalona sika-7.5 million ebethetha ngawo asiwazi ububhajethelwe nto ngoba ezinye iiwadi izinto ezibhajethelwe ziyaxelwa phaa uba le yinto ethile. Ndinengxaki abantu abafuna umbane, informal settlement, abafuna iithoyilethi, abafuna amanzi. Ezaa zinto azikho uba aziveli, endingazi uba ziza kwenziwa njani. Okanye nifuna abantu bade batoyitoye ezazifumane. Nkosi Speaker.
Thank you very much for your input. I think Ward 3 then CFO will also be included as per my request, Councillor Machisini, that there's a breakdown sent to each ward councillor just to indicate Councillor Buddha exactly what is on for that specific ward for the respective financial year. Thank you, Councillor. You will also be included. Councillor Porter.
Thank you, Speaker. Before I forget this part, just want to commend the year of the indication of the budget workshop. I think it's very critical. This morning, the first time that council is dealing with the budget. But the little knowledge that I have that when we deal with the budget, we deal with the heart of the municipality, how it links to society. Ours is to really look into the community without having a proper view, understanding, and or opportunity to digest information. We will not be able to sit here participate, make a contribution in this that was specifically for people. I think there must have been previous budget council meeting that could have drawn us to the point where we could have included the importance of a budget workshop. Before I abstain from this one, there's a question that I've asked myself: why do we still sit with bucket systems within Mossel municipality? I don't want to go back to the number one municipality director. When we claim the accolades, when we claim to be the municipality that is on top of all municipalities, it is an insult to the poorest of the poor. Not having recognition, moving from segregation and subjugation and oppression, sitting still where we have been prior 94, when the bucket system takes us back. Yeah, in a time when we all should be regarded as human. Coupled with the bucket system, particularly in the areas that I want to refer to, we have people that are still sitting without electricity. And I'm not referring to the lengthy arguments that we already had with the Aslam, Bangi, and Ruben Street. It is not right when we go out to our farm areas to go, and I'm talking to all of us as councillors from our political parties perspective. When we go out and seek for votes, but every time these people are hoping to have the electricity, and there's no electricity. I'm referring to replay for an example. I'm referring to the bucket system that people still going to outside toilet for people push in Battlefield. Now, these are just few areas that I am aware of. I don't know if they are anymore. But it's an insult to our people when we are sitting claiming in this council to be the best municipality of all. I'm not sure what informs at this point in time, given my previous points that I've raised in terms of support to these items, as to what constitutes or what informs Ward 9, 1.1 and 1.9 and 6 million for the respective years, the 13, 1.1 and 1.3 for 2 years, and the next year there's nothing reflecting. We don't know what constitutes that. But I've looked at a comprehensive municipal budget, and I look at these years that is being identified in the area, then I can say, comfortably say, without offending my colleague, Councillor Mark Vannes, he sounds like a patriot at the other side when he says, if I can pay, I must pay, and also assist the other one. I'm saying it would have been very interesting to see how these monies will be allocated for what purposes. I don't want to get into the people feeling offended about a councillor that making malicious
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order. Councillor Porter has called a point of order. You can proceed.
Time allocated for each member to speak is 5 minutes item, Madam Speaker, and the councillor has passed that time.
Thank you very much, Councillor Porter. Can you conclude, please?
Thank you. I will conclude. 30 seconds. I don't want to go into the issue of malicious statements that have been made by councillors. We must be factual when we talk. And when we are factual, we must also not take offense. I'm not saying what the malicious stuff is, what was malicious, whatever the case may be. But I want to encourage us all to draw our heads to Central Karoo and see what it really means when it comes to delivering to the people.
Thank you, Councillor Porter. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Porter. Can you indicate the position of the PA against?
PA abstain.
Abstain. Thank you so much, Councillor. Councillor Gous.
Please, Speaker, thank you. I actually just want to ask that the documentation that gets into the councillors regarding the breakdown in each ward circulated to all the councillors. Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely not a problem. Thank you so much. If we can then provide that. Yes. We thus then concluding with this item. I have the position of the Freedom Front. Who is against? The ICDP, who is abstaining. The Patriotic Alliance, who is abstaining. And then can I just get an in? Is there anybody who wish to bring a counter proposal against the proposal of the mayor for approval? Yes, Councillor Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's not a counter proposal. We just wish to congratulate the mayor and all the administration for their hard work on this budget. And we thank them for it. As we can see from the draft budget that was put to council on 31st of March, until now, a lot of work has gone in, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, we will have to vote on the approval of our budget. Is there a counter proposal thus against the proposal of the mayor for approval of our budget? And those then in favor of the proposal of the executive mayor, can you please indicate by the show of hands? Thank you very much. We then have a count. 17 votes then in favor of the proposal of the mayor. Thank you so much. Yes, Director Yankees.
Please don't rule out this contradiction. Then there was no vote on the IDP. It was the same situation. I would just want to take council thanking from this council. Council did not approve the IDP in the same manner as council has approved.
Thank you, Mr. Yankees. IDP. You're speaking on item E215.
E125, Chairperson. There was thus abstentions, but there was no approval of voting on the IDP.
Thank you. Should we then go back? Thank you, Director Yankees. Huge apologies, councillors, then for the proceedings on that item. On item E125, if I can take you back, I had the ACDP who abstained, the Freedom Front who abstained, the Patriotic Alliance who abstained, and the ANC then who abstained. Then we had the proposal for approval by Councillor Kutsia, who was seconded then by Councillor Porta. Can I then get by the show of hands an indication the support in favor of the proposal made by Councillor Kutsia? We have a count. Thank you very much. That then concludes that item. Thank you, Director Yankees. It is appreciated. We are then, right, is welcome. We are then at item E129, and we ask then for Director Yankees to excuse himself from.
Ek wil net vra of so die item kan terugverwys.
Thank you very much. The mayor wanted to refer the item back. Councillors, in front of us, we have item E129, which is the approval of early retirement and filling of vacant post, Director Corporate Services. Can I have a proposal in this regard, please?
Thank you all.
We have a proposal for the recommendations listed 1 to 11 by the Executive Mayor. Is there a seconder?
Madam Speaker, I will second.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kutsia. Is there any questions of clarity on the item? Yes, Councillor Baron.
End of the document, so the couple of early retirement. I read the recommendations they say that obviously the token of the resignation. expensive side.
Thank you very much, Councillor Baron. Ons wil lekker papiertjies hier vir share, please. You may proceed. Raadslid Baron, kan ons vir die MME liggie gee? Baie dankie.
Speaker, no, it's eintlik immaterial of wat resignation of early retirement is. So hy beëindig sy diens by Mossel by Municipality. En dis hoekom dit hier staan as resignation. Alhoewel hy's nog nie 65 en dis hoekom hy hom early retirement. Ja, weet jy of burgemeester wil byvoeg?
Dankie, munisipale bestuurder, excuse Meyer.
I think Director Yankees just wanted to soften the wording. But it's actually resigning. But he's saying he's retiring, but he's not retiring, he's still gonna work.
Thank you, Executive Mayor. Is there any other questions of clarity then on item E1 to 9 with reference to the approval of early retirement and filling of the vacant post Director Corporate Services? I see the lights of two directors, Director Venter.
Myself and my colleague are just debating this point now. So if I'm out of order, please out of order both of us. Speaking, but usually for pension fund purposes. So you speak, I'm just looking at the meeting shouldn't rather be say that the I know the argument is material, yes it is because he is leaving, but the purposes for administratively it is actually important. Perhaps correct the wording. Out of order, please.
Thank you very much. I think that absolutely makes sense. Municipal Manager, can we then rectify the wording? With that correction, does the proposer and the seconder then still stand? Opposed with the amendments?
And thank you for Councillor Baron, who also pointed that out, Speaker.
Thank you so much, Councillor Baron, for also showing that to us. Councillor Coetzee.
Madam Speaker, I will second it for that proposal as well.
Thank you very much. We have no counter proposal. The item then carries unanimously. Councillors, members of public, thank you so much for your time. I know it has been a difficult morning, in particular for our mayor. A number of us are not feeling well. We are but under the weather. I can also see from where I sit that councillors are sick. Please take care of yourself and ensure that you're warm and safe. May God bless you. Keep well.